Right, you lot, let's talk Villa, who are finally back in the Premier League, and we're against Wolves Alona, as I call them, because they always turn up against Villa. It's going to be an interesting one. It's another must-win, just like every game that Villa have left this season. Let's break it down. Yes, so it is Aston Villa versus Wolves. It's going to be a hard game. We always know that Wolves is going to be a tough game. There's never an easy game against them. They always turn up against us, and we're going to have to be on our absolute best to beat this Wolves team, who are actually doing pretty well, and we will get into that a little bit later on as well. But if I scoot over here and bring up how I would line Aston Villa up in this game, and I'll get it up here as well so I can read it off to you. And we're going to go in goal, obviously, Emiliano Martinez. That is like our dead cert. He's going to be in the team. First name on the team sheet. Left back, I'm going to switch it up to Luca Digne over not Luka Modric. That'd be weird if we had him. Over Alex Moreno, purely because they've both had a rest now. Luca Digne is coming back to full fitness, and I think all in all, Luca Digne has been the better left back this season than Alex Moreno. And then centre back partnership, I'm going to go Pau Torres and Diego Carlos to get that natural left and right footer in. And that decision was made easier by my decision at right back being Ezri Konsa, because Matty Cash is out injured for 2 to 3 weeks now. So a bit of a prolonged injury with a hamstring issue that he picked up playing for Poland. And it means that Ezri Konsa is obviously going to deputise at right back, and I would have that left footer, right footer combination and the strength and physical prowess of a Diego Carlos in the team as well. Moving on to the midfield, obviously John McGinn starting his 3-game match suspension now, so he's unavailable. For me, Morgan Rogers comes in on the left-hand side. He's shown a lot of promise, got 2 goals for the England under-21s on international duty, so he'll be brimming with confidence. I think it could be his time to maybe get his first goal for Aston Villa. More on that a little bit later. And then in the middle, I have given the nod to Tim Arogbenham. Did score a goal for the England under-20s on international duty over the last couple of weeks. And on top of that, he is our most natural central defensive midfielder / holding mid that is left in the team. And I think that's going to be really, really important for a game like this. Without John McGinn, who's going in there doing the dirty work, you still want to free up Douglas Luiz to be able to play a little bit further forward. You look at his metrics this season in terms of his goals and assists. They're right up there with the best creative midfielders. I think we have to let him roam, and I think Tim allows him to do that more than maybe a Yuri, who you'll see is further forward. On the right-hand side, Leon Bailey. That's purely because I'm playing Tielemans in that split striker role. I like Leon Bailey getting the ball, turning and running at his man down the wing as opposed to holding up the ball up front. Leave that role to our first striker, Ollie Watkins. Been doing it all season and he bagged goals anyway. And then Yuri Tielemans, coming off of scoring 2 goals against England at Wembley. I think this is his position this season. He's really starting to come into his own now. He had a bit of a rocky start for Villa, but he started to actually turn it around, and I'm really, really liking how he's playing. I think him, for me, alongside Watkins, being able to drop down, support Douglas Luiz in that creative midfield role, and then ping the balls forward. I like it. That's how I would line up, and I think that will actually counteract a lot of the stuff that we'll see that Wolves might be doing a little bit later on in the video. What do you guys think though? Leave your comments down below. How would you line up against Wolves? Are there any changes you'd make to mine, and why? So now we move on to our opposition for this game, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now they are coming off of a 3-2 loss against Coventry in the FA Cup, but we can't really go too much into how teams line up in the FA Cup because changes are always going to be made. So we go look at their last Premier League game, which was actually quite impressive, 2-1 win over Fulham. And as you can see, Jose Sarr in goal with Aït-Nouri, Kilman, Bueno and Semedo making up their back 4. Gomez and Lamina in the middle with Neto, Bellegarde, Sarabia and Fraser up front. Coming on off the bench, you have Matt Doherty, Tommy Doyle and Totti. They also have Hugo Bueno, Boubacar Traore, Noah Lamina. They got some players, but what are you noticing in this last lineup for them? And actually one of the players is a fresh injury doubt. If we move across here to Wolves' current injuries, it's not looking too good for them. They've got Craig Dawson out, could be back for this game, same as Mateus Cunha, but I think probably it might be a little bit too early for them. I haven't heard any news around it just yet. That's 2 of their biggest players. Bellegarde, again, another new injury with an ankle injury there. Pedro Neto is going to be their biggest loss. He's been one of their most prolific players this season. I think he's got 9 assists in 19 games. He's out now until mid-May. And Chan Huang as well. That Korean guy, as Pep Guardiola called him, and then that came back to bite him when they beat City. And he is out until mid-April, so pretty sure that he will not be back for this game either. So you think about, Neto and Chan, Huang, that's one of their, two of their best attacking players, if not their two best attacking players, instantly out of the team. Craig Dawson, always a stalwart in defence for any Premier League team that he plays for. You think of what he'd done for West Ham, as well as Belgrade as well. Mateus Cunha, that's probably their three best attacking players, all out with injuries. So realistically, we really should be going and putting the sword to these guys and playing the best that we know that Villa can play. In terms of Wolves' last results as well, if we get into that right here, actually not looking too bad. They did lose 2-0 to Brentford, but then they bounced back with a 2-1 win against Spurs. Thank you for that, boys. Then they went on to beat Sheffield United before losing 3-0 to Newcastle and then bouncing back with a really impressive 2-1 win against Fulham. Fulham, a team who are actually really, really good, and I like Fulham this season. They seem like they can just go and get a result in any single game that they play. But 3 wins, 2 losses. They're in a net positive right now, and they're not going to be an easy team to play by any stretch of the imagination. If we look at Villa's last results here as well, we come off of the 2-1 win against Fulham as well. Then we went back-to-back, and then back-to-back again with wins over Nottingham Forest and Luton, teams that we should be beating though, 2 relegation battle teams. And then obviously the 4-0 loss to Spurs, and then relatively dragging it back with a 1-1 draw against West Ham. So, technically better. Instead of 3 wins and 2 losses, it's 3 wins, a draw and a loss. We played slightly easier opposition probably than they had to, in terms of having to play 2 of the 3 almost nailed on relegation teams, and although Luton have been given a bit of a lifeline now, and obviously the 4-0 loss to Spurs will still be fresh in the memory of everyone, I am sure. So where does that leave the Premier League table? Aston Villa still sit 4th, pretty 3 points above Spurs. However, they do have that game in hand against us, and I'm not going to be looking too far above us because Man City are opening up quite the gap and have a game in hand. In terms of Wolves, despite a dodgy start to the season, Gary O'Neill has turned them around in terms of how they've been playing, and they currently sit 9th, 1 point above Newcastle and 3 points behind West Ham, who have a worse goal difference, and Wolves have a game in hand. So theoretically, if Wolves win their game in hand, they could go to at least 6th in the table, 8th in the table, and would only be 4 points behind United in 6th. They are really, really actually turning their season around and actually playing some pretty goddamn good football as well. But what do I think is going to happen in this game? So, this game isn't easy. In our last 5 Premier League games against Wolves, we have lost 3 and drawn 2. That is correct. We are winless in 5 against Wolves, and yes, this game's at Villa Park. We've been more shaky at Villa Park than we have been away this season, to be honest with you. And you just get a bad feeling whenever we play Wolves. Like I say, Wolves turn into prime Barcelona whenever Aston Villa play them, and I don't know how they do it consistently every year. But if there were ever going to be a time to snap a 5-game streak without a win against the team, now would be the time, boys, if you can pull it out the bag. I feel like we've still got a strong enough team. We've probably got a stronger team than Wolves. Definitely, you look at league position as well as their injuries compared to ours. They're missing 3 crucial parts of their attacking unit. We're only missing a couple of little players through injuries and stuff. I say little players, it is John McGinn, Tyrone Mings, Emi Buendia, Kamara. It adds up, Matty Cash, but we're still in a stronger position than them, I feel like, overall. We've got a really, really tough run of fixtures coming up, and if we want to keep the pressure on Tottenham, we have to win these games. We simply have to beat the teams below us if we want to keep the pressure on Tottenham and keep this Champions League dream alive, as well as keeping the pressure on Manchester United. Again, we have to beat all the teams below Manchester United as a minimum now, to keep that 5th spot dream, as well as the 4th place spot dream as well. And we're going to have to play well. Emery's going to have to line up the boys right. I feel like if we play people like Tim and Morgan, it's going to help us in terms of that youthful factor as well. They go into these running games without fear, and I like that in a player. They haven't been here before. They're not worrying about sort of, it's our run in for 4th. They just go out there to play their game, and they play it well as well. But you have to exercise caution, and caution has been exercised in my official game prediction. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Aston Villa, with Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey to get the goals. I just feel like we have too much for Wolves. We have to have too much for Wolves at this point in the season. We're going to have to start building momentum now going into our Europa Conference League games against Lille. We've got big games coming up. Our next Premier League game is Manchester City. We've got Arsenal coming up, Liverpool coming up. We have to start getting some momentum together now and starting to get this team playing. We had a really good international break in the terms of it's only Matty Cash, one injury. Man City might have 2 injuries to worry about. We've only picked up 1 injury. Tielemans got on the score sheet. Ollie Watkins played for England. Esri Konsa played for England. Morgan Rogers scored. Timo Rogbenham scored. Moussa Diaby got some minutes for France. Douglas Luiz got some minutes for Brazil and actually looked really good in their second game. It is on. We've had a great international break. The rest of our lads are going to be well rested. Emi Martinez keeping clean sheets for Argentina. We've got to build on that now. It's the run-in. The run-in's official now. There's no more international games until the Euros. It's the run-in. It's the Premier League. We're gunning for Champions League. I think we're going to get it, and I think it's going to start with a 2-0 win against Wolves at Villa Park. Leave your predictions down below. We're so close to 1,550 subs now as well, so subscribe if you are enjoying the Villa content. We are going to be slowly transitioning into some England and Euros related content following Aston Villa players in their quest for international glory in the summer as well. So leave a like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys soon. Up the Villa. Be nice to everyone.